was fun. Welcome back to More Up North and our last episode before the election. Yeah, there is one. I know if you watch the show, you might have heard about it. I'm so happy our panel's here. He's an attorney and general manager of AKPA, Alaska Gasline Port Authority. He ran as a Republican in the gubernatorial primary. And if you all listen to me, no, kidding. Say hello to Bill Walker. And he's a singer, songwriter, and statistics savant who has worked over 150 political campaigns over the last 20 years. You've seen him here on More Up North. He was the state's expert witness for both campaign finance reform in the 1992 and 2002 reapportionments. Say hello again to Tom Begich. And boy, what do I say? He is best known as Levi Johnson's bodyguard. He's a private eye and has his finger on the pulse of our fair city most of the time. Please welcome Rachel Maddow's new best friend, Tank Jones. All right. So I had a couple people say, so who's on the panel? And I told them, they're like, really? How do you pick? And I said, it's kind of like that game, if you could have a dinner party and you could invite anybody you wanted to come, who would you invite? That's what happens when you get a TV show like this. It's my life. But I wanted, Bill, you're a Republican who I respect and admire a lot. And you and I have disagreed on lots of things. And you always say, let's find the things we agree on.
Right.
And you are, I've seen you run a race, statewide race, and be drama-free, being firm, saying, these are things that are going wrong. These are, about your opponents. But being drama-free, what's your take on what's happening with this part of the election? You went through the primary, didn't go past, thought about a write-in candidacy.
I did. I did. Well, there was plenty of drama. There's no question about that. And, we had our own drama, I think, in the primary, but it was a little differently managed, perhaps. And our campaign was all about issues. It wasn't so much about me, but about what was best for Alaska and the way we saw the world. So I think that when you focus on that, necessarily on the individual candidate, I think it takes some of the focus off of me and really on what the issues are. So it wasn't without drama, it wasn't without excitement, but it was different.
Well, it wasn't manufactured.
No, it wasn't manufactured. No, it was all about. It really was all about what was best for the future of the state. So we had a vision, not just for the campaign but for the state. And so because we focused on the vision, we sort of didn't get into the, the minutia.
Right. Right, which we've gotten tired of. What do you think about all the drama that's going on right now, Tank? You're kind of the drama police, making your own when you can.
No, actually, I'm worried about after the drama. Because after Lisa loses, I think she'll become more conservative, more Tea Party-ish, and feel that she wasn't rough enough. So when it comes back around, she'll be even worse. Or whomever loses, besides McAdams. Will be worse because they didn't feel that they did enough to effect the race, so they'll be worse. So they'll get down. A lot of these candidates, even all over the United States, have become much more worse because it seems like the dirtier you get, the more applause that you get. If you kick somebody down the street and stump their head, they make you a hero. Mm-hmm. But if you go by the issues, probably none of us know what the issues are right now. Because now every week something comes up, another lie Joe does, or Joe stole this, or Joe did this. It's all coming out, but Tuesday is the race. Why would none of this stuff came out before? Tuesday is the race.
What's your take on that, Tom?
I think Tank's absolutely right. I think the bigger issue is after the election, you got winners and losers, and the nature of who those winners and losers are and what they do to carve their political careers is going to be something we all have to be aware of. Bill, you've seen this already in the pressure you've gotten. Tank calls it right on the button, and that is, when the office is more important for the individual than the things they believe in, that breaks down democracy to start with. So if you're going to have people who are so bent on having office that they'll do things for their own personal gain, and then they lose, they're going to have to deal with that. They're going to have to address it at an ego level, another level, and they're going to have to respond to it. If you're a Democrat who goes right and loses, will you go further right? If you're a Republican who goes left and loses, will you then turn around and go right to try to win back that sort of office? And to me, it shouldn't be about those things. It should be about what was your vision for Alaska? What was your policy? What were the things you believed in? Tank says, what are the issues? Well, we should be talking about those issues right now.
Right, and the thing that about you, Bill, is that you're right. You do have this vision for Alaska, and it didn't come through a primary race, come to fruition. So, but there's other ways to get there. You can work for an administration,
absolutely,
and get a pipeline, a gas line for us, because that didn't change by you not being elected. You've always had that.
No, and I think that was the difference for me is that after the election, it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I've lost. It's like, and how do we sort of put our shoulder to the wheel and accomplish the mission for the future of the state of Alaska? How do we best do that? I looked seriously at a write-in. I really did. I looked at all the problem I had is I had a poll taken a week after the election, and I was 1 point behind Parnell. And because of that, it's like, once you took away who could vote for who did what ballot and all that stuff, there it was. And so what do I do with that? I mean, how do I advance the causes, if you will, that was so important to my campaign and my supporters across the state? How do I best advance that? And so, some people have said, my gosh, it looks like you've changed your stripes. Absolutely not. My stripes are the same. I was born in Alaska, and I'll die in Alaska. And I'm going to do what's best for Alaska. And, it's not about my political future, my political career. It's about Alaska's future. It's about my children, my grandchildren's future, not mine. So, it was that part was an easy decision for me. And people said, well, have you come out and endorsed Ethan? I said, I can't endorse Ethan at this point. I can't endorse him because he's made me an offer and I've accepted it. He wants me to advance the cause of reopening the North Slope and getting a gas line. So because of that, I can't. Will I work with him? Absolutely, I will. I'll work with anybody. I mean, that's not the issue. And so anyway, it's made some changes.
Well, and I think Ethan's willingness to be like, well, it's not just willingness. I mean, you're the guy that people want to do it. People still want a gas line, and it doesn't matter who they're voting for. But you would be a great addition. So you brought up something about like that. This is about Alaska, and that's been Scott's mantra. It's about Alaska. Scott McAdams running in this U.S. Senate race. Don't know if you've heard of it, but when do you think that we broke from that sort of mentality? Because it used to be. I mean, I've said this before. You're driving down the road, you see a car in the ditch, you wouldn't give a rat's ass what bumper stickers were on it. You would stop, you'd get your tow strap out. I got one in my car right now. If you need out of the ditch, I don't care if you got a Miller sticker. But, we would stop and help each other. We had this thing about, this is Alaska, things are harder here, and so we really all need each other. What do you think was the break in that? Because you were born here, you're an import, but it's all right, we'll take you.
I got here in 1980, and it was like that. If somebody was stuck, you got out, you pushed them, and whatever. Now the climate has changed. And I guess it has a lot to do with who's in office. And people think about or do how the people do that's in office. For instance, how can you explain a man that lives in a trailer, and nothing wrong with living in a trailer now, but he lives in a trailer, he has 5 kids, no health care, but he says, I'm against health care. Your kids have no health care, but since this person up here says, you shouldn't vote for that, he doesn't vote and his kids doesn't get health care. That's stupidity. That's ridiculous. But that's the climate right now.
Right, right. People voting against their own best interests.
Well, the other thing that happens is, I work a lot, as you know, with young people. I've spent a good portion of my life also doing that kind of work. And one of the things we know is that if you you know, kids listen and they learn and they watch you all the time. They're constantly watching. They learn to speak because of you. They learn how to move because of you. They watch you. And if the way that you resolve conflict is to constantly beat up on each other, shout at each other, yell at each other about your personal faults, you know, and lie about each other, those kinds of things, kids learn it. They learn the message. They pick it up. They go, why should I care to treat anybody any different when the model, my parents says, you know, be kind to others, and then, you know, you know, she or he is in office and does this to somebody else. That's how we resolve conflict. That's what we determine how to do it. That's what our kids learn. And I think that's had a tremendously negative impact on America in general, but also in Alaska. I remember, you know, my car dying 70 below and people, you know, shutting the door on me. What kind of person would do that? That's
Where was you at 70 below? Where were you at?
Northway.
Oh, okay.
Don't go on December 23rd. It's not a good time to be there. But that kind of thing shouldn't happen. And I think that part of that attitude is.
Well, you were kind of a hippie at the door.
Well, that's true. I look scary.
Well, you know, the example that I recall was after a very heated election when you had Governor Hammond, Governor Hickel, and Governor Egan all sort of doing battle when the dust settled. Governor Hammond was governor, and he suggested to Governor Egan, Governor Hickel, why don't you work on the gas line? And they went out and created a company called Yukon Pacific Corporation. I mean, you know, you couldn't find more of a challenge during the campaign when it was all over. They rolled up their sleeves and went to work and to do what's best for Alaska. You know, that's what we need to be focusing on. Really, not necessarily
as to what's best for themselves. They chose to do what was best for Alaska, as opposed to it being about themselves.
Right.
And you know, this is an area where I become furious about our former governor. You know, the sort of half-term governor. That was about her.
The quitter Twitter.
Her decision to leave was about her, and that's the message she sent to the young people, the people who believe in politics in this state. And it was wrong.
Yeah.
It was about the money, that's right.
Yes,
hey, I don't got the bling.
You know what, though? That's true. And it's, you know, I have a daughter, and you want to have role models, you know, and I had role models like Susan Butcher, Libby Riddles, you know, women winning the Iditarod, competing head-to-head with men when I was in high school. Women were taking the Iditarod, you know, and I just thought, well, you don't whine, you work just as hard, and you might win.
That's right.
You know, and to say, wow, here's a woman, youngest governor, a woman in Alaska, first woman to do this, and she quits. When are we ever going to have another one? People are going to be like,
I would love for her to run for president, though. That would be the best thing in the world.
I don't even want that bullet in that gun.
No, she has to.
She's an
I
asshole.
will endorse her. To run? Oh my goodness, you can't miss that comedy.
I think.
You can't miss that.
But see, that's part of the thing, is that why reward people that are going to have drama? She'll just bring drama. She's not going to talk about issues.
She'll quit and write 12 books. She'll quit.
No, somebody else will write the 12 books.
Yeah, oh yeah, well, she's not going to write them.
So going back to how Alaska's changed and we're going forward with this, you said something, Tank. You said, I'm worried about what Lisa will do when she loses. Mm-hmm. You brought it up as well. We know that you know, you'd have been a great winner. You were a good loser too. I don't mean to say that cruelly.
Be known by as a good loser. That was my goal.
But no, I mean you were gracious, and you know, and obviously how you're conducting now. So, but
you are gracious.
You are. And so, I wonder this though. We have seen, as you mentioned earlier, a man who stomped on a woman's head this week, a protester.
Kentucky.
We have seen security cuff Tony Hotfinger, who was on the program last week.
They're not really security, but go ahead.
Well, I know. Insecurity of Joe Miller's. And we've seen, you know, some really outrageous behavior and people starting to fight physically over this stuff. And I'm concerned about where we're going to be at on the ground level with those folks. We've got to run to a break. I'm worried about these folks.
We should be.
You know, there's a few people in Alaska have bunkers underneath their garages right now with enough food to feed Jamaica. I'm not kidding. And they're just waiting for this. And I want to get your take on it. We're going to come back with more from our panel in just a moment with more Up North.